Hi everyone! 3 days ago, on Friday, September 19, 2025, I released a new game and at the same time published a book about its creation. And as I promised in the previous video, today's one will be somewhat related to those events because I'll show how I created the system for displaying and using a talent tree in that game. So let's dive into the design and programming. The talent tree we're about to create I designed as a 2D scene containing green control nodes. This means that we can use it in any type of game, either directly integrated into a 2D game or as a UI layer in a 3D game. So as you can see, I created a new project into which I'll copy the icons that will represent the individual talents. These are simple images with dimensions of 128 by 128, which you can of course replace with any others. By the way, as we can see, I'm already working with the final version of Godot 4.5, which was released a few days ago. Even though I am not using any of the new features that version 4.5 introduced in this tutorial, it's still good to know that we already have it available in a stable form. So we have this new project and I'll create a folder called icons. Right here, create new folder, icons, select it, and I'll copy the mentioned icons. I have them here, so let's just select all these PNG files and drag them to the icons folder. And here we go. Great. The other necessary files, meaning scenes and scripts, we can leave in the root folder. Okay, so let's create a new scene of type texture button. I'll save it under the name talent slot tscn. So right click, create new scene, and as I said, texture button, here it is, talent slot, and okay, very well. So why texture button? This component has some useful properties, especially the ability to resize its texture to match the component's dimensions, which will be practical when designing the whole tree. So we have this root node, and to make it display something, let's insert our default icon into it. I will expand textures and we will use the default PNG, drag it into normal. There we go. And as we can see, the components dimensions in layout transform size adapted to the icon. So there are also 128 by 128. But the icon alone isn't enough because each talent will have several levels. So we want to display its current state. So let's create a structure of additional nodes, and the first one will be a margin container. So I right-click the talent slot root node, add child node, and find margin container. All right, and as we can see in 2D editor, the margin container didn't automatically adjust, so we'll do that ourselves in the inspector. Let's expand layout and change layout mode from position to anchors and set the anchor preset to full rect. Now it's expanded. And of course, we want to create some real margin. So let's expand theme overrides constant and add 10 to all four constants. 10, 10, 10, 10. Okay, now I'll add a label that will display this information. Right click, add child node and label. All right, and we'll control it with script, but for now, let's insert at least a default text like 0/3. Okay, so we have something while designing, but we would like to have it placed in the bottom right corner. So let's set horizontal alignment. Here's 1, 2, right. No, sorry, it's vertical. Horizontal to right. And layout container sizing. And let's put both horizontal and vertical to shrink and this one and this one. Now it's properly located. And of course, the text is currently white, which is not too visible on all backgrounds. So let's improve it by expanding theme overrides and constants and set the outline size to 5, which means it will have a black outline. And of course, we want to increase the font size as well. Let's try, for instance, 30. Maybe it's too much. 20. That's better. Maybe 24. Okay, of course, in the actual game, we'll probably have our own font, but for now, the default one will do. Next, we'll add a panel to cover everything when the talent is in a disabled state. And since we want to cover everything, it will be a direct child node of the root node. A child node panel there. And I'll rename it to disabled panel. Okay, and once again, we want to stretch it over the whole component, which is here in layout position 2, anchors and full rect. Then let's expand the mouse category and change the filter to pass propagate up, in case we want to process mouse events on the main component, even in this state. And finally, let's give it some semi-transparent gray color using a new style box flat here in theme overrides, styles and panel set to style box flat, click it, and the BG color we can change to 999999, it's okay, and for example 69 for the alpha channel. That's better. With that, we have a finished talent slot. Save it, Ctrl S. But since we know that in the talent tree we'll want to connect them with lines, let's add one more node. Right-clicking the root node, add child node, line 2D. And I will rename it to talent line. Talent line. Okay, it's a line 2D mode that we'll use to draw connecting lines between talents to form the resulting tree. Notice that the icon is blue, meaning it's a 2D component, not a control one. Ideally, we'd prefer a green control node, but Godot doesn't have one in green, so we'll settle for this. And in the inspector, let's set its width to 2 pixels, that will be enough, and the default color to some shade of gray. I think that 808080 was the best one. Very well, so that's all for the scene tree setup for now. And we'll return to more adjustments later as design requires. Next, let's create the scripts. So I have talent line node selected and clicking this icon to attach a new script, which is called talentline.gd, and create. Here it is. We need to extend line 2D a bit so we know which talent to connect the line to. All we need is to know its ID. So let's insert this simple code. I will also create a class name and let's call it talent line. Great. And var, let's call it dependent talent ID of the type string. Great. That's all we need in this specific script. And the second one will be the main script for the whole component. So we'll attach it directly to the root node. Let's add it, and talent slot GD is a good name for that. Create. Okay, this script will be a bit more complex because with it we'll set all the parameters of the selected talent and calculate its additional properties. So first let's write this. Again, a class name. This time it would be talent slot. And we want to have the default color of the line default line color, which we set to the same color as we already did in the line settings. So it was 808080. Cool. And now we want to expand this object with some additional properties that can be set up in the inspector, which means they will have the export annotation. Export var talent ID, again string, string. Now export var tier, which is an integer and with the default value 1. Export var max level, again integer, and again default value is 1. And finally, where is the here? Export var depends on, which is an array of dependencies. So it's array of talent slot objects. Yeah, this one. All right, so as we can see in the inspector, if I scroll up, we have extended the talent settings with 4 export variables. Each talent has its own ID, which we will use to identify it in code. It also belongs to certain tier, which corresponds to its vertical placement in the tree. The max level variable defines the maximum level this talent can reach, which is actually the number 3 in the string 0/3. And depends on, where is it here, will contain an array of talents that this one depends on, of course, which will draw connecting lines to. Okay, now let's drag all the necessary nodes into the code while holding Control key so that already declarations are created like this. Label, disabled panel, and talent tree, dragging and holding Control key, releasing, and here we go. And finally, we'll add a variable for the current level of this talent. Var level starts at 0, which is actually the number, the 0 in this string 0/3. Next comes the function for setting the label with the numeric values of the current and maximum level of the talent. Notice that besides updating the label, we also need to check the state of other talents that depend on this one. If the current talent has at least 1 level, we color the corresponding line white, which symbolizes that the dependent talent is now active and clickable. So let's write it up. Func set label and simply label.text is a string of the current level plus the slash plus string of the max level. Okay, and we need to determine if the talent is disabled or not. So disabled panel is visible if level is currently 0. Very well. And now, as I said, let's cycle through the dependencies and find which line should be drawn with the white color. So for talent in get parent, get children, and now if talent is talent slot, because we can have other nodes in the node tree of the talent tree, which we are about to create. For line in in talent get children, as we are supposed to have multiple lines in case of multiple dependencies. And now if line is talent line and line and its property dependent talent ID equals to our talent ID. In that case, we know that the line should be drawn and its default color is white if level is greater than 0, which means it's active. Otherwise, else it's our default line color. Okay, the talent tree will work so that at the beginning only the talents from the first tier are accessible, and only after activating them can we process further. This brings us to the next two functions, which will determine whether we can increase or decrease the level of a talent. So I'll write them first, then explain. Let's scroll up, and func can be increased. Okay, var result is, again, get parent, get points left is greater than 0. So the result is a boolean actually. And for talent in depends on if talent level is 0, then the result is false. And finally, let's return the result. Okay, this is the first one, and now for decreasing. Func can be decreased. And this one will be a little more complicated, but not too much. Var has active children is false. Notice that when I have some kind of an unused variable in the function, Godot 4.5 automatically marks this line with some shade of brown, which is a new feature in this version. Okay, so we know that we should do something with this variable or remove it if we don't use it at all. In get parent, get children, and now if talent is talent slot and talent depends on contains this talent and talent level is greater than 0. In that case, it means that we have found at least one active children. So it's true. And we can return level is greater than 1 or not has active children, returning boolean as well. Okay, so as we can see, I am using a reference to the parent node, where I assume the existence of a function called getPointsLeft. We can afford this because we know that the parent node will be our talent tree, which we'll get to shortly. Another option would be to pass a reference to the parent node during the talent initialization, but this way it works as well. So how does it work actually? We can increase the level of the talent only if we haven't already used up all the talent points. So we have some points left. In addition, the condition must be met that all talents this one depends on are activated. So if one of them is not, the result would be automatically false. As for decreasing, we check whether this talent has any active children in the next tier. If it does, reduction is only possible down to level 1. Because a talent with active children must not be completely deactivated. I know it may sound a little confusing, but once we get to the practical demonstration, everything will definitely become clear. What we are still missing is the actual setting of the talent level in the system so that we can use it during the game. Let's insert a function that will handle this. Okay, here we go. Func set new level, and this time we need the parameter next to level of the type integer. Okay, and level is, and we clamp it to the range of the minimum and maximum, so it never exceeds the maximum level or goes below 0. 0 and max level. Level, I said. Okay, and now we need to call the function setLabel, so the text is updated. setLabel, and finally we will call another parent function which will have the name set point label. Yeah, which will be a label with the points left, points we have available for more talents. So yeah, and we need the initial setup of the component where we'll create copies of talent line for all dependencies that this talent has defined. This will be function ready, so we put it to the start. Func ready, and for talent in depends on the array of dependencies, we will create a new line, where line, which is the talent line object, is our talent line and its duplication, duplicate. Okay, and so what? Sorry, not im. Okay, and now we need to set up the parameters. So line dependent talent ID is this talent ID, then line add point. Now we are creating a new line using the adding the points. So global position plus size divided by 2. So we put it to the center of this element. Okay, and the next point, second one, will be at the point the center of the dependent talent. Global position plus talent size divided by 2. Okay, and finally we want the line to become visible. Line visible is true. And add it to the node tree as a child node. Add child line. Great. Very well. And now we need to handle the events that lead to increasing or decreasing the level of this talent. For simplicity, we'll just use mouse clicks, with the left click meaning increase and the right click decrease. If you've read my new book, you might recall a slightly more complex code that also supports keyboard and control input, but here the simpler approach will be enough. So let's implement the GUI input signal on the root node. I'm selecting root node and switching to node signals. And the GUI input is here. So double click and clicking connect, and the new function on GUI input was generated. You might be wondering why I'm implementing GUI input when we also have standard button signals available, such as pressed. The problem is that those signals don't contain information about which mouse button was used, whereas GUI input does. And now let's write the implementation of this function. Okay, deleting the pass, and if event is input event mouse button and event pressed, because when the button is released, it sends another event, and we don't want to handle that one. Var next level is our current level, because we are about to change it. And now if event button index is mouse button left and the function can be increased returns true, in that case we can increase the next level. So the next level is increased by 1. Else if event button index is this time mouse event button right and can be decreased. Oh, sorry, this is wrong. Can be increased here. Auto-completion. Okay, in this case, we are decreasing the levels. So next level is simply decreased by 1. All right, and finally, we can call the set new level function with this next level value. Okay, and with that, we are done with the talent itself and can move on to the talent tree. We'll create a new scene of type user interface and save it as talenttree.tscn. Okay, so I'm right-clicking the root folder, create new scene and user interface and call it talent tree. Okay. Here it is. Let's switch to the 2D editor. And to make placing talents easier, we'll turn on grid snapping. This icon, let's click it and we have a grid here. All right, so let's add a node of type label. Right-clicking child node label, rename it to points label. And in the inspector, let's set a larger font. I will just add I will add the text 0 so we can see something, and this time thin overrides. Font sizes, let's try 40. Yeah, this could be visible enough. And again, we can move it to the right. So horizontal alignment I'm setting to right, and let's just drag it somewhere. Here, for instance. This could be a good position. Okay, and next we'll create a script for the root node, selecting root node and attaching a new script, talenttree.gd. Create. Very well, let's create a class name. So class name would be talent tree, and we'll add a reference to the points label, this one, dragging by holding Control. Here it goes. And we need the number of talent points to keep it somewhere. Var talent points, and let's start with 10 points. That could be enough. Okay, now let's insert the functions that we call from the talent slot class, and one more function we'll call from here. So func setup points, which will do this for colon for talent in get children. If talent is talent slot, then set up its label. Okay, so it cycles through all child nodes of this root node, and since it also contains the label, we must filter out only the talent slots we are about to add very soon. Okay, this is the first one, and now func get points left. Var points spent will be an accumulator because we are going to find out through cycling through the whole talent tree. So if sorry, I said cycling. So for talent in get children again, If talent is talent slot, we'll add its current points. So points spent is increased by talent dot level. Okay, and finally we return the remainder. So talent points, which is equal to, which is set to 10, and we deduct the spent points. Points spent. Okay. Very well. And finally, we are calling the function to set the points label, the number at the bottom right corner. So func set points label. Sorry about the typos. Points label text property is simply string etc. of get points left function. Cool. And of course, we need the ready function to initialize the tree called the setup points. Let's put it here. Okay, func ready. What did I do? I said ready. Okay, and we call set points label and setup points. That's it. Very well. And we can start building the tree. All we need to do is insert instances of talent slots seen as child nodes, set their parameters in the inspector, and the code we wrote will take care of everything else. I'll be using talents from my game, so the names will correspond to that. So first let's switch to 2D editor and let's drag talent slot tscn, where is it here, into the root node. There we go. Then we need to rename it to something, and this first one will be faster pedal. Pedal. Okay. And let's set the parameters. So the talent ID I'll set to faster underscore pedal. Tier, we can leave tier as 1 and set the max level to 5. All right. And this is the first one. It has no dependency, so we can leave this one empty. And of course, we want to use a custom texture. So this one would be faster pedal. Where is it? Here, dragging to normal, and it changed its appearance. And let's splice it somewhere to the bottom left corner. Very well, we can test how it works. Let's start the application, and here it is. Clicking left, 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 right, 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 left, 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 left. Cannot be more than the max level. Right, right, right. I guess it works fine. Okay, but that was one talent. Let's add a second one and set up a dependency. So I will simply duplicate this one and call it ball split. Very well. Now we need a new icon. So let's drag ball split into the copy and move it up a little bit. All right, and other parameters. Ball split. Now the tier is 2. And yeah, it can be, max level can be 5 as well. And now the dependency. So I'm clicking here, add new element, assign, and select the first one. Okay. So let's run the scene again. Executing. Okay, we have both of them, but something is not right because the connecting line is right here. It's supposed to be connecting the centers of both talents. So let's fix it. And it's very simple actually. Let's switch back to the talent slot scene and select talent line. Let's scroll down and open the canvas item visibility. And here we have the top level property, which does exactly what we need, as you can see in the tooltip. So let's check it and start again. And now it is correct. But it would be even nicer if the talents cover the line. That's possible too. Let's get out of that and select the root node, and we will expand down there canvas item ordering, and let's increase the Z index to 1. Now, when I start it again, it should be correct. Perfect. And we can see that clicking on this talent doesn't work because the first one isn't active yet. Let's activate. Now the line is white and we can set up this one. And of course, we cannot go below 1 in the first one because the second one is active. Let's disable, and now we can disable this talent as well. Cool. And let's expand the tree with additional talents to test multiple dependencies. I'll use the same process as for the first 2 talents, so I'll speed up the video now to save time. But first, it seems we need more place to create the whole tree, so I'll just open project settings and change the viewport width and height to Full HD, 1920 by 1080. Okay, and here for the main component, we need to set the same dimensions, 1920 by 1080. Great, now I guess we can select these 2 components, these talents, and move them a little bit down there. Is that correct? Yeah, snapping to the grid. Cool, let's start creating. Okay, it's done. And I think we should fix the position of this number because we increased the dimensions of the component, and we need to put it here like that. Very well, let's try it out, starting the scene. And now we can see that there is a tree structure, and the top component cannot be used until both branches are active. Let's check it. Now, still nothing. And here we can work with that right now. Perfect. I guess it works. And I think we could add another tree that will have multiple children and parents to demonstrate that. Let's check it out. Start it again. And here we have both trees. I guess I don't like this embedding. Let's get rid of that. Okay, exit. And now again, it's gone. Perfect. So we can see that we must activate this to get both those active and available. And after that, we can set this talent and these 2 become available as well. Yeah, I would say it works perfectly. Great. One more thing. It could happen that we soon fill the entire screen and want to make the talent slot smaller. In the current state, this isn't possible because they are sized according to the icons. However, we can adjust the texture button properties to allow this. Where is it? Here. So let's click Ignore Texture. Okay, and change the stretch mode to scale. Now, if we scale it up or down, it works as expected. Yeah, of course, we would have to change the size of this label as well, but definitely there is a way to scale them down and put more talents on the screen. Great. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope such a component will be useful too. In a full game, of course, it would require additional adjustments so that the system remembers talent settings and applies them in the correct places. But you can read all about that in the book, which contains more than 600 pages of information and instructions of all kinds. If you get it, it's also one way to support this channel and the creation of more video tutorials. And then there is the game, of course, which should already be available on Steam. But anyway, thank you for every like or comment, which is a great support as well. So have a great time, good luck with creating your game, and I'll see you next time.